I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the School District of Waukesha's Board of Education Teaching and Learning Committee for Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. We begin this evening with something I want to share before we get into the agenda. Before we begin our meeting this evening, I'd like to take the time for a special shout out to all of our teachers during National Appreciation Week. Thank you for equipping our students with what they will need to grow to their potential, for your ongoing commitment to high expectations and student success, for your extra efforts both in and out of the classroom, for remaining current through all of your professional development, and for your flexibility, patience, cooperation, and professionalism during our current pandemic. The School District of Waukesha is fortunate to have you here, and I'm proud of the many ways that you demonstrate excellence on a daily basis. Congratulations, and know that you are certainly appreciated for the many positive ways that you are impacting your students, your colleagues, your school, and our community. Thank you. Let's give them a nice round of applause, teachers and officers. Thank you. And then Ms. Landish, you had something too?
So thank you, Mr. Dietz. I always appreciate you giving our teachers affirmations on behalf of the board, but I also wanted to take a moment on behalf of administration to publicly say thank you to all of our teachers. As Greg mentioned, this is Teacher Appreciation Week. I think every week should be Teacher Appreciation Week, and so does the person in the back. That's awesome. There is no more important profession that can positively impact the trajectory of kids' lives. And so again, thank you all for your commitment and your care for our students. So propping up our teachers this week.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Landish. Going into our agenda under general business, Stacy, can you verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now is the time for public comment to our committee this evening. We are at the point where individuals are able to speak. As has been past practice, each individual will be limited to 3 minutes in order for us to hear from our community and then get on with the agenda of our meeting. Ms. Roddy will signal at the 2.5 point mark in order for you to wrap up your comments. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language in any manner, and be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at any future Board of Education meetings. We also expect the audience will be respectful of the speaker and the Board of Education and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, and other behavior that could distract from the meeting. And when you come up this evening, if you could please state your name and address. And we have 2 speakers this evening signed up. Our first one is Rebecca Flaherty. So Rebecca, if you could please come forward, and welcome.
I'm Rebecca Flaherty, South 58 West 22305, Wayland Drive, Waukesha, Wisconsin. 5. I'm here tonight to ask you to pay attention to what's happening in our classrooms. In some of the sophomore English classes at West and North, they're doing a 2-month perspectives unit. The success goals of the unit included identifying and acknowledging personal biases of others, and making actionable plans to address injustices. Students were provided 19 pages of left-leaning vocabulary lists, all focused on racial and social justice. Here are 2 words that were on the list with their definition. White supremacy, a political term to describe the system in which whites enjoy social, economic, and political beliefs and preferential treatment at the expense of others. And privilege, a systemic set of beliefs granted to a dominant identity group. White privilege, straight privilege, Christian privilege, cisgender privilege, such as greater access to power, resources, government language, and land. White supremacy is a racial slur and should not be used in schools. It's a derogatory comment about an entire race meant to shame people for the color of their skin. It's racism. Students were told to read a book from the book list or books in the classroom. When I asked my daughter what she planned to read, she said the book was called Caste. I went online and looked at the reviews. Here's what I saw. This book vilifies Republicans and says Republicans are the party of white people, the dominant caste, and their only objective is maintaining that power structure. The book says white supremacy has been on the rise for decades, culminating in 2016 with the election of Trump. It says white people fear other races and want to maintain superiority in their position as the dominant caste. It compares white Americans to Nazis. How would my white Christian daughter of Republican parents feel about us after she spends 3 weeks reading this book? How would she feel about herself, her peers, her community? What do you expect her action plan to be? I immediately reached out to the teacher, the principal, the administration. All were very responsive and helpful. After multiple phone calls and emails, the unit was revised, although these vocabulary words remain. What are we doing? Our children are not broken. Why are we introducing teachings that will divide our students, further divide the country, and give distorted views that ignore the gains our nation has made? This district has already spent over $20,000 on consultants providing professional development to our staff on cultural responsive teaching. Dig into that. It's under the umbrella of critical race theory. I ask you to look at your policies and allow full transparency as to what is happening in schools to our parents regarding students and staff. All staff development handouts, videos, teachings, and surveys should be available to parents. I ask you to create a curriculum and textbook transparency policy that requires all curricular plans, unit materials, textbooks, and handouts to be readily available for parents to review before the school year starts. Don't bury these things in Google Classroom.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Next this evening, we have Carrie Spencer. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you so much for letting me speak. Carrie Spencer, my address is 2112 Harris Highland Drive, Waukesha, Wisconsin, 53188. So my statement is also regarding a situation at the 10th grade level about dividing students. I believe this was also the English class my daughter is in. So under the watch of this class, my 15-year-old daughter was exposed to this situation. All the kids in class stand up. If you are pro-choice, this is regarding abortion, please stand on this side of the classroom. If you are pro-life, please stand on this side of the classroom. If you're somewhere in the middle, stand in the middle. Now, we transferred to this district when she was a freshman, coming from a Catholic school. She looks at her fellow classmate who also transferred to this school from the same Catholic school, and they knew where this was going. They read each other's eyes because they couldn't read faces, right? And everybody stood up, pretty much went to pro-choice. She wanted to go pro-life, right? She's a Catholic Christian girl, but she felt that pressure as a 15-year-old girl in a public school to stand in the middle and change how she feels about things because the teacher put her in that situation, and I'm not okay with that. She was not okay with that, and she immediately said something to me. I'm not a confrontational person, which is why my voice is shaking right now. It was very upsetting to me to hear that. And if we're trying to push to not talk about religion in schools, I mean, she was told by administration at Christmas time when she said Merry Christmas to one of her friends that she could not say Merry Christmas in the hallway to one of her friends. That's not okay with me either, right? I feel like Christmas is more of a cultural thing in this country. Like to tell a student not to say Merry Christmas in school is not okay with me either. And if we're trying to stay away from religion, why bring up topics like abortion to 15-year-olds that are obviously can tend to be a very religious decision in a family? I don't believe that's a topic that should be brought up and have kids stand up and segregate themselves like that. And it causes such division when they can't stand up for themselves, for what their beliefs are, because they're afraid of being ridiculed by their classmates based on their decisions and their beliefs. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looks like we have a big group back there that's excited to come up to the podium. I want to welcome Ms. Berry, principal at Meadowbrook Elementary School, and all of her students and staff that are with her tonight. They're going to be giving us an overview of AVID and the connection AVID has with social emotional learning. So I'm going to turn it over to our experts seated at the table and let Ms. Berry introduce them at this time.
Well, they know who the real expert is, right? My favorite people are here tonight, so it's very good to see you. I'm Jessica Berry. I'm the principal at Meadowbrook Elementary School. I believe I've been there 10 years, a very long time, but I'm very proud to say tonight that we are able to be here to share some wonderful things that are happening at our school. We are in our second year of AVID implementation, and this year we know we've seen a shift in our district goals and our school goals, but we still were able to do some incredible things, tying in AVID strategies and tying them to the social emotional learning that we work so hard to provide to our students. So I'm here with 5 friends tonight. I have Ella from grade 5. I have Uriah from grade 5 and Sal from grade 5. And if you were here last year, maybe you remember that these fine students were here to present our AVID journey, or the beginning of it, to all of you. I also have 2 incredible educators here tonight. I have Miss Erica Mauer-Sickler, who teaches 2nd grade, and I have Ms. Rochelle Fieger, who teaches 4th grade. So with that, we have a presentation for you tonight, a digital presentation, as well as a video. So my hope is that you sit back and you absorb all of these great things to celebrate, and please ask us questions if you have them at the end. Thank you. So as Mrs. Berry, I'll just come right over here and then I'll pass. Okay, perfect. As Mrs. Berry said, last year we had the opportunity to come here, and we were so excited about our AVID journey and continuing our AVID journey. We were ready to take off. We had set some goals in AVID that we were going to continue to work on our focused note-taking and directly relate them to our thought logs and math logs that we use. And then we also were going to continue with focused note-taking and, the AVID strategies that we had already learned, continue to grow on those. And we had some ideas of how we were going to embed it into professional development. But then there were some changes that happened, and we had a change in focus as a district, that we moved to focusing on SEL for students and staff, and then also creating our BB9 website. And so it took a little shift for us, and we were like, but how can we continue to grow in AVID, continue to use those strategies that we had learned? But we realized that there was such a connection between that relational capacity that AVID kind of has shown us through those strategies, building our school culture, building our culture within our students and in our classrooms, that how could we continue that work within our own classrooms. So we really focused on that social emotional learning, but also focusing on growing our community and making students feel like they were a part of something within their classroom, making them feel like they were a part of something within our school.
The cordless one not working? No. Oh, okay. Do the batteries run out?
So we use the district curriculum of the Steps to Respect, and every teacher in our building has been teaching that weekly and then supplementing with those strategies that we have learned through AVID. So just implementing fun get-to-know-you games and, not just the traditional sense of what's your name at the beginning of the year, but really getting to know everyone as an individual and what makes them great. We created engaging learning experiences by continuing to have students connect with others on their learning to grow their thinking. Something that we did a lot last year was we did different collaborative structures. And when we first had this, came back to school and we thought, oh my goodness, how are we going to continue this where the students are going to work together? Well, we worked together and we found ways that we could still do these activities and still have the students collaborate at a safe distance with masks, plexiglass, and just found that we could still focus on AVID and continue those great things that we were doing. This is more nerve-wracking than teaching to fourth graders, right? Sorry. So something that we thought about is a lot of those activities, like coming together as a whole school. We weren't able to do that. We weren't able to gather in the gym for these assemblies. So what could we do as a whole school to just get our students excited and keep them motivated and happy to come to school? So some of the things that we did as a whole school were the I Did a Read in March. So it was tied to the I Did a Rod. The kids went from from Anchorage to Nome, Alaska, and they learned about the cities as they went, and of course it was tied to how many minutes they read. Classes and individuals were all recognized for their success. It was really fun. It was hopefully something that will continue at Meadowbrook. We had the Kindness Challenge, where each day they brought in donations for the women's shelter, and then also had a specific thing that they needed to do to be kind to someone. So talk to somebody different at lunch, or play a new game, or play with a new friend at recess. Not smile, but smize, wave at somebody, give an air high five. You know, we just got creative of how could we still keep this great community of Meadowbrook. We just delivered May Day baskets. It was beautiful on Friday. I even had a student who received a thank you note from the neighbor that had the May Day basket. So it seems like the community enjoys that outreach too. We have Yes Day coming up, which I don't know if you're familiar with the Netflix movie that came out. That's where it kind of stemmed from, but the students are writing letters and asking for, things that we can do to celebrate and just have fun together in the classroom. Book Flood is up there. We had Celebrate Black History Month, where we listened to the music and we voted, had the competition. It was great to try these new events that hopefully the students enjoyed and we can continue for the years. We did have just recently in this past month, the Spring Student Engagement Survey, and you can take a look that the things that we are doing are having a positive impact on our students. I won't read those to you, but you can take a look.
I think the biggest thing from the student engagement survey, our students are happy. They're happy to be at school. They want to be at school. They feel successful while they're at school. And I think it's in turn to, that culture that we've built and that community that we've continued through everything that had happened this year. We also took, as teachers, a performance culture survey, and as the district, on those indicators, our goal is for all teachers or 80% of teachers to agree or strongly agree on those indicators. We had on every single indicator, 100% of our staff said agree or strongly agree. And looking at that Meadowbrook values their work, that teachers believe that the leadership sets challenging goals. And that's even like in this year when we had that shift to goals, we still felt that challenge and still rose to meet those challenges, that we have a clear purpose, clear vision for our students, because our students should be number one, and that we are making them number one in our building. And then also the other example I put up here was that all the work that's done by adults and students is aligned with achieving the vision and purpose within our building and at our district. So as we were planning this presentation, we were thinking about AVID. Something that we had said, we learned so much through AVID, and last year these Rockstar students were able to share all of the strategies that they had learned, what they loved about AVID, and as we got talking to them, we're like, AVID isn't something that we need to just say, this is an AVID strategy. It's become who they are. And so they're going to share a little bit about how Meadowbrook has prepared them going into middle school and all of the wonderful things that they've learned.
I am Sal Tarantino. Some of you know me from last year. Don't worry, the teachers are doing a good job. I'm a fifth grader at Meadowbrook, and And this is how I think that Meadowbrook has it like readied me for 6th grade. First of all, I think that Meadowbrook has helped me become a part of a community because everybody has welcomed me and helped me out when I needed it, and I feel I could do the same for them, like in the future. Also, I feel more confident with other class things and stuff, and I am willing to do more things. Like in middle school, I think I should go for more clubs and sports. Also, and I will do this out of school too, and yeah.
He's ready for middle school.
Hi, I'm Uriah. I'm a 5th grader at Meadowbrook Elementary. At Meadowbrook, I work in groups often, and it has helped me to be comfortable talking to people and listening to others. When I work in groups, I become more comfortable sharing my work. I can adapt to new situations. Like when I work on homework, I can talk to new people and get to know them. AVID has helped me adapt to new situations.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a 5th grader at Meadowbrook also. Organization at Meadowbrook has prepared us to not only organize our materials, but also organize our time. For our homework and projects we do at school, we have a set due date that everyone has to turn in their work. I'm a student athlete and I have to find time to do my homework if it is due the next day or two. Growth mindset. I have been getting more confidence throughout the grades. I started out being too shy to share my thoughts, but now I like to share my thoughts and participate in questions that the teachers ask.
I feel like we need another round of applause for just these guys. Sorry, just kidding. Can we keep them? Is there something we can do to I don't think I'm ready for middle school, but if they could just stay back with us, I think that'd be great. But clearly, I'm really proud of these 3 and other students that aren't here to share and to speak to their strengths as well, because these 3 do represent the population of Meadowbrook, of that 5th grade class and those other children that are coming up behind them. So as the AVID site team leaders, we really hope to continue and pick up right where we left off and build off of the foundation that we have and add more strategies, bring in the primary grades, and just keep going, because clearly it's sticking, it's working, and the kids enjoy it, and it's helping them to be successful.
Looking at next year, we're excited that we have 12 teachers that are attending summer path training. So we're going to get more teachers on board, learn more for those of us that have been to AVID trainings. In the past, we're looking forward to building those great strategies into our own staff development. Just today, we were talking at our SAIL meeting about some things that we could do to build in those AVID strategies for all teachers. And then we're also hopeful for district collaboration, and that we'll be able to collaborate with other schools that are AVID schools and tap into our own strengths that we have right in the district. We have a short video to showcase, and I'm going to pass this to you because I don't know.
Maybe instead of going to full screen, just have it not full screen.
Okay. Oh, because it's not showing up.
There's a ladder scene.
been here for really long to help kids learn. That she loves to read books to us. My favorite thing about Miss Cooney is her lets us on our iPads. Mrs. Cooley is sometimes she lets us pick where to play. My teacher says things with expression. Seeing Mrs. Spillman and my classmates and learning something new every day.
Like really funny and cool ways of teaching it to us.
They make 5th grade and learning they make school fun.
That our teachers are awesome.
JSL is special to me because I get to help make school spirit days. I especially liked about the AVID that everybody got a bookmark, and I love reading.
I liked the idea to read because I liked learning about the Alaskan cities that they traveled for. And I like reading too.
Blackboard helps me with my learning. Sometimes technology does help me, and sometimes it's funky and kind of slow.
I like that all my learning is on our class website.
I like sorting things out because instead of not knowing what I'm going to do, I like knowing the schedule of the day.
I'm excited because it's yesterday and we get to write the letters to Miss Berry to convince her to have a Culver's party. I liked when the chicks hatched and it made me have more questions.
Where we have to like fan them out and look. They're all kind of.
I like when we learn and play games like Look It and Bingo. I love it when our class reads outside.
When I'm feeling down or sad, they ask me what's wrong, if they can help in any way, and people do care about me.
I'm glad you feel that way.
My favorite thing about Meadowbrook is helping my friends.
And we have a beautiful building. If you haven't been able to visit us in a while, we hope that when things get back to normal that you can come and see the great things that are happening and the dedication and the commitment, not only from our instructional leaders, but from these genuinely terrific young kids. I'm going to miss them like crazy next year, but I know that all three of them have already promised to come and visit. But I hope that this brought some light to you. We are that bright light for our kids and believe deeply in helping them be the best that they can be and offering that unwavering support for them as they grow into middle school kids. But anyway, so thank you for your time tonight. Thank you, teachers and students, for representing us in such a beautiful way. Thank you. Mrs. Berry will not cry.
Questions and comments? Mr. Baumgart.
I have one. Sal, did I understand in your little speech to us that you also did some of this outside of school? Yeah. Can you get, that's a, you know what? I don't think I've ever heard that before. And I'd really like to know how you are using the AVID skills outside. That's great.
So, like, during the quarantine, technically we were outside of school.
We get it.
Oh, yeah. And so for my clubs and sports, like I play football and basketball, I think AVID helps me stay organized. Like whenever I put my stuff away when I'm done with practice, I always keep it organized in my bag. And I think AVID helps me to do that.
I'm very glad to hear that because I think it can spread. And I got a great big smile going on in here, by the way. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Awesome.
We promise not to have anybody hang.
AVID, I use AVID a lot out of school. When we have to do our homework, we have take-home leave and take-home return in our AVID binders and all of our sections. So I'm also a student athlete. I do gymnastics and softball. I have to do my homework and find times to do that. So AVID helps a lot with that because the folders to organize our binders really help us remember that we have to do those certain things.
Thank you for sharing that, Ella.
Good. Anyone else? Ms. Roddy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Mr. Baumgart, I noticed the same thing, and I wrote it down, what Sal had said. One of the things he uses his skills outside of school. Uriah, did I say that correctly? Uriah, you said you adapt to new situations. That's a phenomenal skill to have. And then Ella, you mentioned your growth mindset. Those are big words for fifth graders. I don't know that I developed a growth mindset at fifth grade, but good for you three for doing that. Your confidence and level that you have speaking before us, we're parents, we're just people too. But your confidence level is so amazing, and congrats to that. Congrats to the teachers and to the parents for helping foster that for the three young ones here. I vaguely remember this from a previous presentation, the Justice Service League. Yes. Somebody remind me what that is?
Yeah. All three of us were, right? Well, the Justice Service League is basically a group that you would do in 4th or 5th grade, but only 4th grade is doing it this year. So we did a fundraiser for it, a garage sale actually. It's just a group that you can do to do like nice things for the school and the community.
And they're doing a lot of the planning for Yes Day that's coming up. So they're getting all of, gosh, my mind is just exploding thinking about all the planning that goes into it, because it's all these grades and every single individual in each grade asking for one thing that they want. And 4th graders are doing a phenomenal job of keeping those letters organized, helping with the budget, getting information put out. I don't know how they do it, but they do a great job of helping with the school community.
Put together, Justice Service League also will put together different videos for our school community when we started implementing, like, we want a school-wide structure of how we're walking in the hallways to keep everyone safe. That Justice Service League really led that. They've made different videos for on our playground, how we can play or different things that we can do. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, and one of our other fourth grade teachers leads that and leads the students. And it's something that when students get to fourth and fifth grade, they look forward to hopefully applying to be a part of it.
Yes, thank you for that.
Anyone else? Dr. Piazzik.
Well, I couldn't be more happy that you guys are here on my first official committee meeting. I've had the privilege of being a Meadowbrook mom for 10 years, and what I've seen in the last 5 really blows me away. Not to say the first 5 weren't also awesome, but really we've been blessed by these amazing teachers, and I happen to know a classmate of Ella, Uriah, and Sal. I hope that Mrs. Berry told Mr. Sadowski you guys are coming because it's going to get interesting. I do have a question for you guys, and I'm just curious, what are you most looking forward to for middle school?
I'm looking forward to being in separate classes instead of just being in one class and switching to another. I think it would, we'll have a 3-minute mark to get our stuff out of our locker and make it to class. I think it'll train our brains to do things faster, I guess. And yeah, that's what I'm looking most forward to.
What probably I'm looking most forward to is being able to switch classes, like Sal said, but being able to see more people in just the span of one day.
For middle school, I'm most excited to make new friends because I'll get to meet a lot more people, and I'm also really excited to have different classes to switch to because I've always wanted a locker to put my stuff in and decorate and stuff like that. But I'm mostly excited to meet new people and make new friends.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Ella will have the most fabulous locker in all of Butler Middle School. Thank you, guys.
To all the students, do you know that this meeting is being recorded? So I would encourage you when you have some time to go to YouTube or a different site to find the recording of your presentation. And I think just to sit back and realize how incredible you are and how amazing and confident and positive, I think you're going to really look at that and say, wow, that's me. And from that, that confidence is going to continue to build. I see nothing but great things in the future for all of you. And but if you could do that, take some time and look at the recording and just see what a great job you did presenting. We have a lot of people come and visit our committee to present. You guys are right at the top. So congratulations on a great presentation. It certainly is a bright light, and Meadowbrook is a very special place in this district. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Okay.
So I gave you some homework.
Good. I was just going to say, feel better now. Absolutely right.
We are moving on to the action items on our agenda this evening. The first is the approval of the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting minutes from our April 6, 2021 meeting.
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgart.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Roddy, for seconding. Any comments, discussion, questions, additions, deletions? Seeing none? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. Motion passes. Stacy, 401. Second action item this evening, approval of the AP Human Geography textbook. And we have Rachel Herman, our Director of Secondary Learning, here tonight. She's a frequent visitor to this committee. And we should have a special seat designated just for you, I think. But you do a great job. We're looking forward to hearing where you are and the next steps as we move forward in this area. So thank you very much for being here, Rachel. Welcome.
Having me tonight. I am also here with Mark Anderson, who is also a familiar face as we've gone through this textbook adoption process. Mark is a AP Human Geography teacher at Waukesha West. And last month and then the month prior, you heard us come to you with our request to adopt a new AP Human Geography textbook based on a pilot that we had conducted with our students. We shared with you the student feedback. We shared with you the research that we had conducted on the book. We shared with you the alignment of the text to the AP College Board curriculum. We shared with you the pricing options. We had a great discussion. The teachers have continued to pilot that resource with their students in between that board meeting and now. And the results have continued to remain the same. The students are finding the text to be incredibly accessible. The teachers are finding the resource to continue to, again, align and support the AP College Board curriculum. And so at this point in time, we are seeking your adoption of this resource as our new AP Human Geography textbook.
Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten.
Second.
Second by Ms. Roddy.
The motion is to accept the book. Accept the book.
Accept the approval of the AP Human Geography textbook. Yep. Discussion, questions, comments? Mr. Baumgarten.
I'll come back with the same thing I said last time. It's a joy to pick up, as we were looking at several books, and you pick up one of the books and it just catches your eye from the way it looks, from the way it draws your attention. Excuse me. And the reading. I mean, it was fun to read some of those things that we don't always think about. And I guess that added to my mind opening some more eyes about what's going on out there, and on a broader scale than we're used to. So that was all part of my thoughts. Excuse me. When we were looking at them a couple of months back, and that's why I'm eager to see it go into work.
Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the AP Human Geography textbook adoption, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Stacy, 5-0. Great job, Rachel, to you and your team. It's been an extensive amount of time and effort, but I think you've delivered a really good product for the students and staff of this district. And
Back to update you on
that sounds great.
implementation.
Thank you.
So thank you for your support.
And please thank those as well that have contributed along the way. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Not going to go far because I'm the next agenda item.
You're next. Next this evening, we are looking at the approval of the Integrated Math 1 and 2 course syllabi. And we have Rachel Herman, our Director of Secondary Learning. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi. So very similar to AP Human Geography. Last month we presented to you the work of the Integrated 1 and Integrated 2, both mono and dual language curricular work teams. They have been very busy since we have approved the adoption of our curricular resource, Agile Minds, developing our course outline. And so that is what is presented that was what was presented in front of you last month. We are here seeking the adoption of this UBD so that we can then begin to outline the curricular units of study, get a little bit deeper into formative assessment tasks, and dive further into the curriculum with these teams.
I have Dan Paczynski here in case anyone's going
Okay, sounds good.
Last time was like an algebraic equation and what like level we would teach that at, and I definitely don't have that content expertise.
I wish I would have had a question about that. Okay, we're looking for a motion. Mr. Como.
I move to approve the integrated math 1 and 2 course syllabi as presented.
Thank you very much. Second?
Second.
Ms. Roddy? Thank you. Comments, questions? Mr. Como.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. I truly appreciated having you brought forth dual language side by side with this. Rachel, are you planning on making that a consistent kind of thing in the future, or was this just easier to do it for the syllabi, or what are your thoughts there?
Sure. So any course that we offer in both monolingual as well as dual language, that will be the plan. That when we move to a curricular revision, we would do that work simultaneously, as we want the experience, right, and those curricular outcomes to be as parallel as possible. When the course is not offered as part of that dual language program, then those dual language teachers would not often be a part of that curricular revision. As long as the course is offered in the dual language programming, that is the expectation that we will continue to model going forward.
Fair enough. I truly appreciate that. And as our dual language program has been around longer now, I think we're able to do that. When in the beginning, it was more difficult to do that, but we have a lot more students enrolled. It's in more grade levels, essentially all grade levels. And, it's just been, it makes sense to bring those together when we can. So I appreciate that very much.
Dr. Piazzi.
A couple of questions, and please forgive me since I caught up on meetings, but I do have some questions. Just one point of clarification is simply that the course outlines just look a little different. The content seems about the same between dual language and English language. I'm curious if that it just happened, or if it's by design. Is there any difference in the content?
I'm going to have Dan take that one, as he was much more part of the actual content development of the course.
Yeah, so in the beginning we were looking for a resource that would leverage the language that we need for our dual language program. So we're actually using two different resources. We're using CPM at the dual language. We're using Agile Online in our monolingual classes.
Okay.
So what you see there is you see the scope and sequences are different. Right now we have teams that are working together to make sure that the ultimate outcomes, the student achievement outcomes, and of course our learning targets are all similar and the same by the end of the year. So while timing might be a little bit different, by the end of the year, everything should be in alignment.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you. And I have a follow-up question to that. Is there a matrix or a rubric that you will use, for example, if a student moves into our district and has already taken algebra?
Yeah, that was a really big conversation, and we are anticipating that will happen. And so I don't know about a matrix or a rubric, but the way that integrated 1 and integrated 2 are being built, it's really we anticipate that we will be able to take where that child is coming in terms of skills, knowledge, expertise, and fill the buckets that need to be filled and move on from there. So we quite honestly have that even in our current structure. We have students who move in, even from other districts who are not aligned to our current scope and sequence or our current units of study, and we have to do some filling of those buckets. And so we are anticipating that will happen. But in terms of a matrix, I don't know that we've gotten that far, but we are anticipating that we'll have to account for that.
Mr. Como.
So if this passes, which we'll take the vote soon, what other steps will you need to do this summer to prepare?
We are going to be very busy this summer. I just thought of one other piece, though, that I want to add on, which is our eAchieve Academy will continue to offer algebra next year.
And geometry?
And geometry, as well as integrated. So they will offer both pathways. That decision was made because they do service a number of students who come from outside of Waukesha School District. So as we transition into this, that is a conversation we'll continue to have. Sorry, I wanted to make mention of that. This summer, there is some big work happening this summer. So first and foremost, our integrated 1 and 2 teams in both mono and dual will be meeting to create the kind of nitty-gritty of the units of study. So looking at common assessments, formative assessments, as well as just understanding that new curricular resource. So diving into the particular, unit plans. So that's happening. We have, I think, 5 scheduled work days with those teams. We also will be launching then the teachers who will be teaching Integrated 2. You may have heard or remembered when we started this conversation that we're exploring the potential for earned honors in Integrated 2. And so that's a conversation knowing that that would be then something we'd be looking at for the 22-23 school year. We'll be putting together an Integrated Math 2 team to start talking about what would be an earned honors experience. What would that look like? What would be the criteria associated with that? And so that work team will also be coming together this summer. And then lastly, we have some work groups talking to both our teachers and our administrators about what does an integrated math classroom look like? So how do I differentiate my instruction? What do I have to change about how I do business? Because historically in our system, we have run a remedial track and then we have run a regular track, and we are removing that remedial track. And so we have to be able to equip our teachers with the skill set to differentiate to the edges. And so there is going to be some professional learning again for our principals as well as for our teachers around how to do that successfully. We are going to be doing that both in-house as well as with Agile Minds, who partners with the Dana Center, math gurus, nationally recognized math gurus, to help us to launch that professional learning. So some pretty big stuff. We'll be busy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I knew there was a lot of work this summer, and I don't know if people truly understand that this is something that we do year-round, and we don't take the summer off on these kinds of things. We continue straight through. So I appreciate that.
Mr. Baumgart.
I think it's important also that the public know that this is not just a brainstorm that we came up with, that in fact we have been in contact with colleges and all are much in favor of our moving in this direction rather than the direction I took a little while ago. So, when you began to get me involved in understanding this and what a big change it was, from the way I studied math, this makes a lot of sense. And I appreciated that. And I think, again, the general public should understand this was not just an idea. This is a real good move. So, by the way, your team has been phenomenal over this period of time we've been working on this. It's not easy.
Yeah, a huge shout out to Dan Kieser, but before me, Dan Patinsky, really spearheaded this work. And I can tell you, DPI is coming out with new math standards. Dan Patinsky served on the team with the Department of Public Instruction that helped to align those standards. And so we know that what we're doing is aligned to what the state will be putting out. But in addition, I can share with you that once a month I have the privilege to meet with directors across Waukesha County. And when they hear about what we're doing, the first question I'm asked is, can you share that? Can you give us access to that? Because it is the direction that many other districts will be headed as they look to align their curriculum to the new math standards that are coming out.
Outstanding.
You didn't tell us what your answer was. My answer? Yeah, about sharing.
Oh.
And what's the fee?
I'll fee.
Dr. Piazza.
Just maybe a couple more just questions to make sure I understand fundamentally. Does the concept of high math in middle school go away with this? Okay.
We have an accelerated track across our middle school level.
Okay.
Across our high school level as well. So nope, that's still.
Okay. And are these the only courses then that will be integrated, or is there a plan to integrate at other levels as well? higher levels?
So integrated 1, integrated 2, and integrated 3, which we really
3.
have not
Okay.
yet even started the integrated 3. And then after students take integrated 3, the idea as part of this vision is that we have readied them to move into a math pathway. And so we are envisioning both a health track. We are also envisioning a STEM track. We've got lots of ideas as to what that track, what those tracks would look like. But in terms of the integrated approach, we're looking at just integrated 1, 2, and 3.
Mr. Como.
Rachel, didn't you guys present us with that
Yeah,
information? You might want to
we
get
can-
a copy of that or send a copy
I
of that
made a note of that to make
Kelly.
sure to
And I
do
was just
that.
trying to clarify if there was a change to not including 3 in this discussion. It's just that you're not ready.
That integrated 3 will not launch in schools
Gotcha.
for another 2 years, and so we're just not there yet.
That makes sense. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, let's vote on it. We're looking at the approval of the integrated math 1 and 2 course syllabi. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes Stacy 5-0. Thank you very much to the two of you again for all your hard work and dedication, and really for taking this process slowly and doing it well and helping us understand it along the way. It's really a model for how other things should be done like this in the district, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Our next action item tonight is, oh no, we're done with action items, yep. Discussion information items. Procedural compliance for self-assessment, which involves the area of special education. And if a district is found out of compliance, the district needs to correct and submit those plans to the DPI, or Department of Public Instruction. The local educational agency, or LEA, must then demonstrate 100% compliance with the Department of Public Instruction. And the self-assessment, in my mind, is really an excellent opportunity for staff to review their special ed procedures, as well as the individualized program plan and the development of it. So I don't think anyone should look at a self-assessment as a negative. It's an opportunity for growth, and I'm sure you would agree with that, and I'm looking forward to your presentation. So welcome, Patty. And Patty is our Director of Special Education, and we also have Jason Gahan here tonight. He's the Director of Secondary Special Education. So welcome, Patty and Jason.
Thank you.
I like to also look at
Oh, great. Great. We'll call it that.
It's going to be tough to follow.
We're going to try. We're going to try. Procedural compliance self-assessment. Special education is a requirement from the federal government, and that means that we have a lot of monitoring that we have to respond to. The self-assessment is one of 20 indicators that we have to provide information to the state on, and then the state provides that to the Federal Office of Special Education. Some of those indicators are annual data collections, some are every 3 years, some are every 5 years. In the case of the self-assessment, we're looking to ensure compliance with the legal requirements of the IEP, and also to be addressing the improved outcomes for students with disability. This is a 5-year cycle, and in 2019-20, we were preparing our teachers and principals for the following year, giving them some education on how to improve practice, to get things done just right in the year ahead, and then the pandemic came. So it's actually been 6 years. They shifted us a year, and that means starting June 1st, we begin our PCSA compliance work. We did prepare our staff, and we did review that information for our new teachers during this school year. And really, it's the kind of thing that we do a self-audit on almost every year. We pull a selection of IEPs, look for errors, look for things that should be more specific, more accurate, and that does influence our professional development every year along the way. So here's what we're looking at ahead of us.
Starting June 1st, we begin and we start by appointing an ad hoc committee. The point of that is to have transparency for our community and include family engagement. And that committee would also include special ed staff, school psychologist, an administrator. We're also going to be looking for a team of about 15 special ed staff members to be trained as reviewers of those IEPs. DPI has an online course. It's very well done. Jason and I have now done it a couple times, back a year and a half ago and again recently. And that's what all of our reviewers will go through. It prepares you for what to look for and how to really meet the standards. For this process, we will be pulling a sample pool. And those are the kids whose IEPs include an evaluation this year. So we have about 1,800 students with IEPs. The sample pool will not be all 1,800. It'll be maybe 600 or 800, somewhere in there. And it's the kids who have an evaluation plus an IEP. And because of the size of our district, we'll be pulling 65 cases for our review. 4 types of questions that we'll be looking at in the PCSA. And 3 of the compliance statements look at the evaluation portion for the students' IEPs. And then on the annual IEP, there are another 18 compliance statements. Implementation and discipline are new areas this time around, since the last time that we did the PCSA. Of those 65 IEPs, we'll pull 13 of those, and we'll be looking for the implementation compliance statements on those. And then for discipline, all students with IEPs who have 10 or more days of disciplinary removal will be that group for the 2 compliance statements. What's new about the procedural compliance self-assessment in recent years is that the federal government has added results-driven accountability to the process. It's more than just making sure that we have an answer in every blank on the IEP and that we have certain wording correct. It's about making sure we're making things happen to close the achievement gap for students. So throughout the process, in the state of Wisconsin, we're looking for reading drives achievement, knowing how important literacy is for students to make progress. The goal in addressing this is to look at student growth above and beyond the compliance with timelines and content in the IEP. In the annual IEP portion of the compliance statements, there are several questions that address how we write the goals, measurability of the goals. Does the baseline data match the data we're using to measure growth? And is the frequency and amount of service specific, not vague? We can't use terms like minimum or maximum in that information. And are the supplementary aids and services written into the IEP, they're there to provide an additional benefit to the student to help them meet their goals. Are we demonstrating actual delivery of those? I'm going to take you into the link and show you what the implementation section looks like, because these are questions where we don't just pull this off of the IEP as written. We'll be collecting some data from the staff. So for 2 weeks in September or October, for those 13 IEPs, we will be looking at data provided by the teacher in these areas. Look for the assurance that the specially designed instruction listed in the IEP is provided as described. That means we're going to be looking at student schedules, staff schedules, lesson plans, perhaps some observations and interviews to document that. Implementation question 2 looks at are the supplementary aids and services listed in the IEP provided as described. So again, we'll be looking for schedules, any systems in place to support the student in their learning. And then in the case of a student whose behavior impedes his or her learning, we'll be looking for the positive behavioral interventions and supports that address the child's behavior so that it is not an interference with their learning. Again, looking for things like the student's behavior plan, any daily behavior communication for the family. We'll be collecting that data over that 2-week period. We'll also be looking for the most recent progress reports for those 13 IEPs, and we'll be looking at the accommodations for statewide assessments having been written into the IEP. Again, we're doing this in the fall. We'll be looking at the spring testing span that we're currently in for the forward exam, ACT, ACT Aspire, and DLM. And Jason is going to go into discipline.
And the last area of focus is that of discipline. Like Patty had said, the area of implementation is a new area for schools in this current cycle. Discipline is as well. And like Patty said, we hope that this sample size is 0 because that means that we do not have any student who has been removed for more than 10 cumulative days for behavioral infractions. But reality is there will be a sample size for this, but it will be very small, likely less than 5 students for our district. The disciplinary, it looks at 2 different areas. One is just looking at the district, making sure that we have policies and procedures and methods in place to track student discipline. And then the second one, as indicated in front of you, recognizes that some students will have behavioral infractions. So IEP teams before the 10th cumulative day are mandated to meet and develop a plan with parent input as to how their son or daughter will continue to be educated should there be days beyond that 10th cumulative day. And in the end, with the real focus on reading and student advancement within the curriculum, the intent of this is, despite behavioral infractions for students with disabilities, we want to guarantee continued access to that education. In your summary packet for tonight, for this presentation, you received 2 different links. One of them is just a short DPI video that summarizes the self-assessment. The second one, however, if you cared to dive into this, is 49 pages of all of the standards, compliance standards that Patty highlighted, and in this area of discipline as well. She also referenced that there is a required educational opportunity for the folks on the review team. You see in front of you one small example from those 49 pages. How specific it is for those reviewers and why, in fact, there is a course that they need to take before they dig into this. In case you did not have an opportunity to review any of that, I wanted to highlight just one specific area. As you can see, this is indicator 6 or compliance standard 6 on the IEP. And it really focuses in and it forces the team to look at the students' participation in and progress within the curriculum. And again, specifically in the area of reading as well. We want to make sure that we're maintaining high standards for students despite their disability, and this is one area. Patty also alluded to that being broad is not something that is going to gain compliance for our outcomes. We have to be specific, so for each and every individual, how does their disability specifically impact their involvement and progress within the regular curriculum? Patty mentioned the timelines. So for this, June 1st, we kick off and we'll be running over the course of the summer. Hopefully by really the beginning of the school year, we'll come down to and have the implementation section left. So that by November 1st, we will have wrapped everything up. And that is our deadline to submit it to DPI. Again, all the internal process will be completed at that point, at least for round 1. Specific student level errors, then special education teachers will reach out and take the necessary steps to make those corrections. Will there be errors? As Patty alluded to, as of I think yesterday, we had 1,842 students in the district who have IEPs. That's a lot of moving parts, and we have been proactive, as she also alluded to. Annually, we offer professional development in the area of IEP development and compliance and IEP writing. We have either ourselves or had graduate students who are obtaining their special education director in special education pull random samples of IEPs with these standards in mind. We have reached out, but in the end, again, with that many individualized needs, we're bound to have some errors. And again, as a result of this, we will provide corrective action either through professional development and then certainly specifically for individual students. Once those then are done, between January 15th and April 15th is a new window for DPI. They'll ask for a new selection of students to verify that not only those corrections don't exist, but we've maintained the corrections moving forward. November of 22, so approximately 18 months, this process will go on, and hopefully before then, but that is when we would expect DPI to complete their process. We'll have certainly completed ours, and then we'll look to maintain the corrective actions that we've taken. What questions do you have for us?
Mr. Como.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Jason or Patty or Joe, and actually, I have a few questions here, and maybe this first one's for Joe. Maybe Jason too, but Patty, you're newer on board. So 5 years ago we went through this. What were some of the big takeaways that we had made for improvements from 5 years ago?
So 5 years ago, we were found non-compliant in all areas of the self-assessment. I think there were 21 or 22 areas at the time. We had an IEP drawn where the staff member didn't do the IEP, so we had non-compliance across the board. As a result of that, we worked with our IEP software company to come up with daily reminders to both the principal and the teacher to talk about IEPs that were 60 days out, 30 days out, 15 days out, and then past due notifications to ensure that the school would make sure that that was updated. We had minor errors. I would have considered them to be minor errors throughout the rest of the self-assessment. So that was the one major thing that created system-wide noncompliance. The rest of the noncompliance at that time was the box wasn't checked, the date wasn't correct, things of a very minor nature, things that were small human error that even upon review couldn't be completed. The steps that we've taken since then, though, as Jason had mentioned, the spot checking of IEPs going into this self-assessment, the teaming that happens at school to make sure that we have that professional community there where teachers can bounce things off of each other, and then increased professional development for our principals on the role of the LEA. The LEA is the local education representative. They're essentially the final say at the IEP. They're the administrator in charge at the IEP. And so that they have their look-fors so that we can minimize noncompliance, create a better document that guides the instruction for students.
So at what point in time, you guys are going above and beyond the 5-year audit? You're doing a self-audit every year. When did you start that?
I think we built bits and pieces of it in as part of that last assessment. That really has ramped up, though, in preparation for this. Patty and Jason have led most of that charge going into this because we kind of had the preparation and then the false start with the pandemic last year and then getting ready this year. But we built in checks along the way, going back to 6 years ago when we had that last assessment.
That's smart. And I'm glad to see that happening. Can you give me a sense of how much time this audit will take and resources, FTEs, total hours, roughly?
We're wondering too. Since the last time we did an audit, the IEP writing process has changed. That results-driven accountability element has been added in how we write IEPs. So this is our first time going through an audit of this nature. I'm many hours. We're looking for 15 staff members to support the review. I'm thankful we'll have the summer to do that. So,
with the last audit, a trained educator could have gone through an IEP in 15 or 20 minutes, and then you would have another person review it. So it's about 40 minutes per document. We're anticipating a lot more this time around. Okay. I mean, as you saw, the evidence.
There were 2 new
lesson plans. Well, I mean, you saw lesson plans, copies of schedules. Right. Evidence of growth in the classroom before you were just looking at the IEP and comparing it to a checklist. So
as you get through the audit, it'd be nice for you to just kind of tell us how it went from 40 minutes to 2 hours or whatever.
We do
per-
anticipate coming back to you. As Jason and Patty pointed out, there's a number of dates up there. So the submission in November of 2021, we want to come back to you at that time and show you what we found in our audit. When we start the student level corrective action, we want to come back to you at the Teaching and Learning Committee and update you where we're at there. And then when we get to this final date, the system-wide one in November of 2022, then we want to sit down and talk with you again as to the final status of it.
So when did the federal government implement the focus on reading? Is that new now? Because I know we've been doing a number of things with literacy to help improve. So I didn't know if the federal government was driving that or if that was an internal goal that where we started to look towards that for these children.
Audit 6 years ago, IEP paperwork changed with that results-driven accountability in mind, that we needed to attend to students making gains. And in the state of Wisconsin, each state was given the opportunity to design that, how they were going to address that. So the state of Wisconsin went with literacy. So Wisconsin calls it reading drives achievement. And that's where certain components of how our IEPs are written in the state of Wisconsin are specific to if a student has a disability-related need that affects their performance in reading or participation in reading class, then there are certain things that we have to see in the IEP.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate what you shared with us tonight. Yes.
The first part of the audit, we would anticipate with 15 staff, we're going to hopefully break into 3-person teams to review, to have multiple eyes on each compliance standard. We would hope to complete that first section in approximately 16 hours. I'm sorry. Within 16 hours or 2 days, and then the last part would be the implementation. With 13, that could take between 2 and 4 hours per student.
Okay. I appreciate that, just to kind of give us a sense of how long that is.
Dr. Piasek.
Just a question. I know that obviously the past year has been really unusual, and IEPs, I'm assuming, have changed a lot with changes to hybrid and days in class and stuff. What are realistic expectations when you're getting into those as far as compliance, consistency, errors? I would just assume, just because of how the last year went, that maybe some things slip through the cracks and that wouldn't be insanely unreasonable.
I would say from a compliance standard, making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, we have maintained internal processes to address that. I think that given the length of the shutdown last spring, if we were to look at those IEP goals that pertain to reading, I think we would see that there was more delay there. And we can do a presentation on it, but there's, I forget what the term is, but it's like the supplemental services, the additional services that we provide.
Sure.
Contingency plans needed to be put in if students went into quarantine. And the supplementary aids and services portion of the IEP might have more offerings in it to support a student when they're in person versus supporting them when they're virtual.
But I would echo it, this compliance review shouldn't really be impacted by that. Of course, we had new things going on in our world. But last spring, when it was a state closure, DPI gave us guidance on how to document how those services would look. The nature of the IEP meeting with parents certainly changed. We utilized computers and phones instead of sitting around a table together. This year was again a little bit different with local decisions as far as how school would look. But in the end, the document, the expectations have certainly remained throughout.
Thank you.
Anything else? Jason, Patty, let's say an area of an IEP, a given student's IEP is not in compliance. At what point is there parent contact on that? At what point is there a review and revise meeting to update or improve that IEP? Could you speak to me a little bit about the process involved there?
And the statements in here are very similar from item to item, depending process, but if the student level IEP review shows that there's an error, then we need to conduct a new IEP, go over with the parents that we need to correct this, we need to fix this to better suit the standards expected. And that all gets documented. It's a fresh meeting with the parents. It's fresh paperwork put in place. And then we have to inform DPI through the portal that we did that for students X, Y, and Z in the sample pool.
Parents are well aware of what's happening.
Okay.
Which is great, because we wouldn't want them uninformed.
And we're required to have some transparency in how we move forward with that. So we have that ad hoc committee, and any student IEP that has those errors, the parents will be informed.
That's good. I thought that's the way it was, so thank you. Anything else? Yeah, thank you very much. And like I said, Mr. Como.
Welcome, Patty. You've been with us how long now?
I've been here 33 years.
You know what? I have you mixed up with someone else, Patty.
About Amanda Mack?
I'm sorry. She's going to be new. Yes, I apologize wholeheartedly.
You know what? I had shorter hair before COVID, so that might be it.
I'm sorry. Thank you for your 33 years, though.
Yes.
It's the mask is what I'm going to say.
And like I said at the beginning, the self-assessment doesn't have to be a negative. I mean, the ones I've been involved with have been really positive, and it helps you to improve on that IEP writing. It improves on your compliance, and you can learn and grow from that at all levels. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Very informational, and we appreciate your time. Yep, take care.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, moving on to our next agenda section, other business. Any recommendations from any committee members for future meetings at this time? Dr. Piazzi.
I was just going to ask if there's a plan, either at this committee or elsewhere, to review grade recovery as a result of return to face-to-face.
Not sure where that's headed, Ms. Landish, but would it be this committee?
Certainly bring it here.
Okay.
If it's more helpful to wait until the end of the school year, or...
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe our July 6th meeting would be more appropriate once we have all that data summarized. I can put it on our agenda.
Good. Ms. Strati.
Yes, thank you. It was brought to our attention by one of the speakers about having materials available for parents that the teachers will be using throughout the year. Can we get something to show, because I know at the schools that I'm in, we have that system set up, but to show where that material is located in advance, because I've had questions in the past asked of that. So if we can share that information with the board and how we can ensure that parents, that this is available to them.
And a way to get that out at each school. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, everyone, for your involvement and participation this evening. The next Teaching and Learning Committee meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 1st at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. This time the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.